Product launches. How do you launch your product? So this whole course has been about doing the things that most people don't do, and that's how you're successful. And when it comes to your product launches, it's no different. You just need to have a plan. You can't do all of this preparation work and product selection and product validation and then get time to actually sell your product and not have a plan for that. For too many people, the Amazon launch strategy is send stuff to FBA and then turn on the ads. That's not really a strategy. So there's a lot of different tactics you can use when it comes to your product launch. I'm going to give you the one that I use. And I've iterated on this over the years to come up to a solution that works out well for me and for my products. It's not going to be perfect for you. And my big point here is that a product launch strategy is something that you figure out over time. Now, you can use the one that I'm giving you today as an example, but for whatever product it is that you choose in your selection process, you're going to have to find out what works out best over a long period of time. And how do we get good at anything in life? We get good by failing and then iterating and then getting a little bit better, and then by failing some more and iterating and getting a little bit better. And 6 years from now, you're going to have your own launch strategy that you want to use for your specific business and for the products that fit your category. But I'm going to give you my launch strategy right down here below this video. You can download it and you can use it as a baseline. It's not going to be the perfect solution for you, but what it is going to have is some left and right limits and at least some considerations of things that I think you should at least be thinking about when you create your own personal launch strategy. So 2 notes before we get started. You'll remember, number 1, that when we're thinking about variations, and variations to remind you from a previous module, you got your main product that you want to sell, and then you have the yellow version and the green version and the big version and the small version. All of those are going to end up on the same listing eventually. But as we launch the products, we have to remember we keep all of these different variations separate for the time being. And it's only after we've gone through getting our reviews that we bring them all together onto the same listing. Note number 2, how many units of inventory should you send in on your very first shipment? My recommendation as a blanket is 100 units. And why 100 units? 100 units is going to allow you to do 2 things. Number 1, you can send 30 units to Vine, and then you have 70 units that are left over. And for most products, you're not going to sell a ton out the gate because no one knows you exist yet. You have to find a way to get it in front of people. That's an iterative process. So these 70 units gives you generally enough inventory when you turn the ads on that you're not going to go out of stock on these 70 units until you have time to actually replenish that stock. So you can go higher or lower than this, but remember, if you're going to give away the inventory to Vine, and this is per variation, so if you're sending in 4 items, you're going to send in 120 units to Vine for each one. So each item you send in, I want you to send in 100 of each product at the bare minimum, so you can activate this strategy and have enough units on hand so that as you're selling through these units, you have time to get Amazon restocked up with more reinforcements as you start to sell more. So here's the sequence you're going to use for your launch strategy. Number 1, you're going to send inventory to FBA. Once you get your units to FBA and they're received, now you're going to be able to enroll these units into Amazon Vine. So Vine is step number 2, and you're going to wait until you start to get some of the reviews back from Vine, because what we don't want to do is start advertising a product that doesn't have any reviews on it yet. You're just going to be burning your money. So you wait and wait and wait for your reviews to come in. It's not going to take forever, but it will take some time, probably 2 to 3 weeks for reviews to come in from the units you give away on Vine. Once you get your reviews, now your next step is going to be to combine all of these different variations that you've sent to Amazon onto the same listing. Now they can share reviews. So now we're going to combine our variations. This gives us one single Amazon listing now that ideally, if you sent in 4 different variations and you gave away 30 units for each one, you probably got 20 to 25 reviews from Vine for each one. So we're going to say that you have now 100 reviews across these different products. You can start to advertise before you get to 100 reviews. I just prefer for my products to be at 100 reviews before we start dumping money into our ads, because there's something psychological that happens at 3 digits of reviews. For people who are seeing a product, they think, that's a whole lot of social proof. I think people probably like this product. That's why I like to get to 100 reviews for this process. So then step number 4 is now we turn on the ads. Whoever you use for your ad partner, whether you do it yourself, this is where you probably want to turn on some automatic campaigns, maybe have a manual backup campaign that is harvesting keywords from your automatic campaigns continuously over time. I'm not going to dig into advertising. You can find so many resources for ads all over YouTube for that. Okay, step number 5 is to activate price strategy. Now, I'm going to give you the strategy that we use for all of our products, and that's where we basically ask ourselves, how much do we want to charge for this product? And we understand that we don't have any sales velocity just yet. So we're going to start, generally speaking, our products at 60% of the price that I want to eventually end up at on Amazon. Now, why am I doing this at 60% of the price? It's because I understand that before I have a ton of reviews and a ton of sales velocity, I'm not really going to rank that well. So for me to increase that ranking, what I want to do is get more velocity of sales, which means that when my ads get in front of people, I want to convert more of those customers. Well, the thing that you can do to increase the velocity of sales the fastest is to give a lower price to customers, because a lot of customers come on Amazon and they're looking for a great deal. So when your ad pops to the top of the search and you're charging $40 and everyone else is charging $65 for it, there's a much higher likelihood that even though you don't have a ton of reviews yet, that the customer is going to give you a shot because they feel like they're getting a deal. Now, my strategy gives us targets to hit to increase from 60% to 70% to 80% to 90%, and then eventually get to 100%. And there's 4 criteria that I'm watching on a weekly basis inside Brand Analytics to see when it's time for us to move from 60% to 70%. So number 1, I'm looking for BSR. And if you don't know what BSR is bestseller rank. Think about Amazon in a series of categories. For instance, the beauty category. The soap that I sell might be 26,000 out of 1 million products in beauty. So if I can get my soap to be number 1 in beauty, when someone just opens up the beauty category, Amazon's going to rank my product all the way at the top. So people see that because that ranking means that people are buying it, and you can actually reverse engineer how many sales you get per month based on the ranking that you currently have on Amazon. Jungle Scout has a pretty cool tool for that, by the way. The goal with BSR is to have your ranking as low as possible. The lower the ranking, the higher you're going to be in the search results. Number 2, what I'm looking at is impressions. And remember, when we talked about click-through rate, impressions are just how many at-bats, how many times did a customer have your listing pop up in front of them when they typed in a search result? How many times did your ad pop up in front of them? An ad impression, an organic impression, they're all impressions. What I'm looking for is, are we actually getting this product in front of people? And if we are, then that's what I want to see. So I want to see, for my products in my category, at least 1,000 impressions per week. That's not a ton of impressions. It's actually a pretty low number of impressions. Break it down by day, you're talking about 130, 140 impressions per day. That's adequate enough for us to get a product launched in the beginning. So if I'm not getting 1,000 impressions per week, what are the triggers that I can pull to make that happen? Well, a lot of times in a launch, I'm looking at the trigger of our advertising. Are we bidding enough on the right keywords to get enough impressions to put this in front of people so they have a chance to make a purchase? Now, number 3 is add to carts. Now, every single week, Amazon's going to update brand analytics, and you can find your add to carts inside your brand analytics, your search performance query. So as long as you know what your ASIN is, you can input that ASIN into your brand analytics and look week by week to see how many people added my product to their carts. Now, I will tell you, it's a relatively depressing thing to do, because you'll find out that 70% of the time, people add something to their cart and they never actually check out. But this is knowledge that you should know, because what does that tell you about your product when you're launching it? Are you getting people to even consider buying it enough to put it into their cart? So even though you may not get purchases up front, it's pretty validating as someone who's launching a product to see that product get added to people's carts. Because a lot of times you will see them come back to that cart and actually go to a checkout, and it might be a week later or 2 weeks later. Now, the fourth thing I'm looking for is what we really care about, and that is units sold. So for me to go on my price from 60% of what I want to charge to the next step, which is going to be 70% of the price that one day I want to charge, I'm watching to see, are we actually selling units? Add to carts are great, impressions are great, but what's going to actually move this BSR and get us more sales is actually selling units. So to start, to go from 60 to 70%, I want to see you sell 5 units. The moment we've sold 5 units, I'm seeing 1,000 impressions, we're getting good add to carts, and the BSR is moving down. I'm going to take that price, and it might take 2 weeks, it might take 3 weeks. I'm going to go to 70% of what I actually want to charge on Amazon. The next target is going to be 80%. Now, the same things apply. I'm looking for the 3 easy ones. Is BSR moving down? Yes or no? Are impressions getting at least 1,000 a week? Are we getting added to carts? Okay, now I want to see us sell more than 5 units because now we're starting to pick up some steam and some velocity here. I want to see us sell 20 units total, and that's going to give me the confidence to know that we have enough customers buying us, that all of these metrics are moving in the right direction. Now it's time to go to 80%. For our products, we repeat the same thing to go to 90%, and the number I'm looking for is 40 units at 90%. And then for me to get to the price that I want to charge at 100% of that, I'm looking for us to have sold at least 60 units total. Now remember, we sent in 100 units total. We gave 30 away to Vine, and we had 70 units left. So by the time that I get to right around 80, 90%, I'm already thinking about sending in a restock and replenishing and refilling the Amazon FBA warehouses so that by the time I get to 100% of my price, I'm now sending in a ton of inventory that's going to sell for full price. And we've really fully activated our launch strategy to get this from no one knowing it exists to now having plenty of sales velocity and setting ourselves up for success. So you can love or you can hate my system. I don't really care. I want you to come up with your own system because this is not a one-size-fits-all. What I do for my business is informed by 6 years of experience of me doing this day in and day out inside a specific category. You're going to know your category way better than I do. And while these may be some of the same considerations that you take into account for your launch, you should come into your launch with a plan. And that's what I want to stress to you the most. If you've planned well, you have a much higher chance of succeeding. That goes for product selection, it goes to validation, but it also goes into your product launch. I just want to see you have a plan.